Hey everyone, happy weekend. I'm posting another video as it turns out today because there's some stuff happening in a realm I care very deeply about, the cryptoverse. That's blockchain and all things related. And in particular with Bix Weir over the events of the last couple days, that I had to do a Steganography video on what's transpiring with Veritasium and Divi right now, and what I see as it relates to another crypto, EOS. Now, this is going to tie back to some of my earlier work that I've done. If you come to my channel and see how I've broken this stuff down in the Steganography realm, and in the lead up, in particular, I think in this video here, the November 5th DC Parasite Network, this video here, the Cupid, Death Stranding Decoded, Monster Energy, and what necessarily this video game is all about that I'm playing through. That stuff you can go back through. I'll link this in the description, of course. But first things first, because it's all Bix Weir, I'm doing his wife's 21-day raw food reboot. I actually have my lunch smoothie right here. I'm actually doing, so a call out to her. This is actually a wonderful thing to track for anybody that wants to come to this site. It's raw21reboot.com. And my girlfriend and I are both doing this, and it's actually helping out a lot. But that's not why I am here today. I'm here today to lend Bix a little bit of information as it relates to the steganography piece of what I see with this whole thing happening with Veritasium and the government. Bix, I know you don't shy away from the woo-woo stuff, so this actually may make a little bit of sense to you. I hope it gets in your hands. For everybody else, it will benefit you greatly if you even go back to Bix's channel. In fact, the interviews I'm going to be referencing are here. This is his channel, roadtoruta.com. I've referenced it on my channel before too. Wonderful prefabricated archive of information that he has on his site too, for going all into silver. But he did this interview with Bitcoin Ben and this guy Jeff McCabe from this company Divi. And to give those viewers that may not have anything to do with crypto yet, Divi is this claimant cryptocurrency. And I actually commented in his video right here. You can come over here. I'll put this in the description to read what I said. And I also posted another response to what Bix was talking about this morning on the matter too. And you guys can come over here and read that stuff. I'll post all this stuff in the video. But the V steganography in particular is what we cover on this channel. V being the practice in the occult that the controllers are using, in the practice of concealing a file, message, image, or video within another file, message, image, or video. The word steganography comes from New Latin steganographia, which combines the Greek word steganos, meaning covered or concealed, and Latin graphia, meaning writing. So this is outside of gematria, which is how partially the numerology factors into the encoding of the specific spells and the letters and numbers. Steganography is a way in which they can encode spells into symbols, into practice. And V is an upside down lambda if we're talking about Greek. And this is the whole basis of my channel. And I'm going through this a little bit quickly for those that want to just come back and look at the Earth Grid Control Network videos I've done. I've referenced lambda a lot. Q as well, what I suspect Q actually is, and the web that truly is. These videos will offer you much. In fact, in these videos here too, the Death Stranding preamble video right here goes very deeply actually into EOS, which we're going to get to in this video as well. But before anything, I just wanted to make sure that the viewer knows specifically what we're talking about when we're talking about V steganography and what could be hidden here. It goes into the concept of actually Saturn is what has been a theme of my videos as of late. And Saturn is represented, here's one of the polar regions with this hexagonal structure with this vortex. And for those also familiar, we've bringing up the wrong images. We know that the buckyball structure underlays the sphere of each planet, the sphere of each cosmic body, and so Saturn's going to be no different. We've got the fractal patterns. If we go in here and zoom in, It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. The buckyballs just keep persisting. And this is why Cliff High, I think, has even said that he may presume that if Earth is hollow, it's a honeycomb structure kind of like this. This is all Buckminster Fuller's research. So we're starting here with Saturn. Saturn ties into the V in all sorts of different ways with the tarot, which my previous videos have also referenced, but in particular with the cube. And this cube is a concept we're going to get into and tie to Divi and also EOS. And this is kind of the path we're going to take with this. This is all going to be an occult journey through, hopefully, what's only a couple minutes of explanation here. But this, of course, is the classical represented black cube of Saturn. And if you look at it, when you look at it in this orientation, it is actually a two-dimensional hexagon, which it overlays right on the top of this, right? We've talked much about the Borg on this channel and what Ahriman and the control grid and everything that Ahriman places on the ancient temple structures and all of this. Here's another representation of Saturn in the occult in Star Wars, right? The machinists, the materialists, the scientific atomists, the ones that don't subscribe to Nikola Tesla's paradigm and actually the use of silver for dielectric motors, right? We've got the Mecha Cube. It's interesting too that if you recall back in an interview Cliff High did, I believe, with Sarah Westall, the last one he did where he actually did some, he input some more results, or output, he extracted some more results rather, it was more appropriately phrased, from his webbot algorithms to suggest that in the years to come Mecha was going to get destroyed. What do we have with the videos I have referenced in these videos as of late, especially these last three? We're coursing toward this, and the V steganography is at the heart of it because of the secret space program that's now public, because of the X files that are coming out, and how X and V, both of those steganographic symbols and letters, are hiding and occluding what they have for, I don't know how long, at least going back to the gunpowder plot as we've followed. So these are all the beats that I'm hopefully showing everybody with the cube. And then this is how it gets into where we're talking about the steganography with, again, the Divi project. Here's Divi's website with the letter D, okay? And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper too once I show the symbolism, but also how it factors into this company, this old media company, Den. If you see the V here, the V steganography is actually sideways. Den is an interesting story that'll tie into the D wave and what I'm actually seeing with Divi, but can't confirm. I'm just telling you what I see with steganography. There's nothing here of a suggestion other than I see steganographic patterns with Divi that tie it to all these other organizations, and that's the case that we're building here. Specifically, before we get to Den, I'll show you what the connection is with the D, and why D stands out, and also like Q factors in to this steganography. If you want to find out more about how Q factors in with V, watch this video, the QAnon videos, watch the Death Stranding Decoded, and this video specifically right here, the Space Force video that actually goes into the number 17 and how it's interrelated. But D is what we're talking about, and so what I'm showing here is we've got the calculatorsoup.com. They've got a nice little easy table to read out here. V, of course, is the 5 steganography, the 5, the number of man, the Ahriman co-ops with the control grid network, supposedly, and the Ahrimanic forces that control the Saturnian energies. And then with Rudolf Steiner's work, remember, Saturn is the most material plane, especially when we are pitting it up against the chakra system. Saturn equals material, bare bones, security, the base of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs pyramid. So anyhow, what we're talking about with Divi is the letter D, and as it relates to right here, the letter 500. So we have V equaling 5 and D equaling 500 in Roman numeral terms. Okay, and this is where the steganography comes into play, because 5 in numerology, or 500 in numerology, simply reduces to 5. Because I taught you guys this in the last video, referencing some of the other work out there. I think it was even Robert Sepper's channel that I was showing. But So what we have is 5 and 5. And what you can also look at is the absolute value, because if you look at this, if you type in divi to this, it's a non-real function. Okay? So it spits something back out, which tells me we need to look at divi by itself as maybe d, maybe equaling 5, right? The d equaling 5 is reduced to numerology. Oops. And then maybe we're looking at a function something like this, absolute value. The two i's, because the function doesn't cooperate, we have 5, absolute value 5. Absolute value of 5 equals 5, so effectively we have 5 times 5, and which of course we've shown equals 25. We go back to the gematria of a lot of this other stuff we were doing, all the 25s we were finding the gematria, and all the 52s as well. As we talked about Super Bowl 52 being an occult ritual for Glass Steagall, the Glass Stadium, the Eagles in their association with 1933 collapse, and the 1943 season where they combined with the Pittsburgh Steelers to become the Steagals. This is all the ritual for some sort of financial crisis, in my opinion, and that's what I'm saying is how D-Wave is intertwined with all of this, or excuse me, Divi. I am only showing where the numerology is taking me. I cannot make any other claims other than, of course, the fundamental research I've done too. I know crypto quite well. I've worked in the space, of course. Worked for a tokenization, securitization company which got acquired, and here I am doing this now. So, guys, I'm just showing. Hopefully, Bix, this gets into your hand. This is kind of done for you, dude. How D-Wave systems also factors in. And of course, if you want more in-depth research, these last 3 videos, starting with the V steganography with the Space Force, will lead you through how that steganography ties in with the D-Wave computers even. But the cube itself should be enough representation to show the connection here using steganography. Okay. Now, as Den relates, Bix, this should be no mystery to you. This is Mark Collins Rector's company that he started. And of course, Mark Collins Rector's patent to start YouTube, which Bix has gone into before, but is part of the supposed trafficking network, I'll just call it, which oversees this fine organization, EOS. Okay. Now, EOS is a company I've got some exposure to in the space, rubbed shoulders with. So, not going to speak to anything other than what Bix you've already understood on your channel to have decoded in the past, and we can leave that spade a spade. Everyone, if you want to kind of check out what I'm getting to here with what the illusions of trafficking are, in this case, you can tie the dots together from this organization with a V all the way forward to EOS and watching this movie. An Open Secret documentary, which you can watch on Vimeo, I believe, online. There you go. Vimeo's got it. Link that in the description too. I've mentioned this video as well. I'm going to leave it at that. Anybody who wants to connect the dots for what the trafficking, who the players of this particular trafficking LARP, how they're involved, those are all the variables you need to solve for the algebra equation. But I'm going to continue on with the EOS piece because it relates to actually something Bix was discussing today pertaining to the Veritasium lawsuit. And he actually suggested this person's channel, which I'd never heard of before, but she's an astrologer. Sleepwoke is her name. I kind of like it. I subscribed to her channel. And she did the birth chart for the company of Veritasium. Guys, do we see the V? Of course, like V letters and V everything is purposeful use. I wonder who Reggie is playing for after all this, actually, because you see some other curious symbolism on his website too. We're going to get into the EOS stuff, but guys, look, in her video, she actually describes Veritasium as being all for humanity, which of course I actually kind of get behind. I've looked into the white paper myself. It looks like a very sound project, and I don't know why the SEC went after them, except I do if you're looking beyond the true motives for the matter, which she gets into here as well. I'll link her video as well so you can go watch it. But she says it's a benevolent force, okay? What do we know about the chakra system here? Except that it is where we're trying to resonate. This was actually, if you go all the way back through the Edgar Cayce works, all the way back even through to Jesus, this is the Christ, this is the consciousness that we need to break ourselves from in the 8th sphere, which the Ahrimanic forces have us in a tractor beam over. Literally. This is the battle that's being fought, guys, and that's what I've decoded with this work, I hope, and tied it together for you guys to see. And so resonating here with this symbolism references, in fact, the truth, Veritas. So does it prove that Reggie is in alignment with this? Not necessarily, but there's no mistaking that the use of these so-called random cryptographic looking patterns here are used on their very site, and this in Veritas literally means truth. So they're in an SEC lawsuit. The government has actually confiscated their coins, for those that are interested in what this is all about. And if you look at the astrology pattern back to this of the birth chart, what you're going to see something here. You're actually going to see, of course, I've got my photos all backwards here. I got to get these things up in a proper form. Okay, we've got EOS, right? This is EOS logo. And EOS has a Greek representation as well. If we're talking about Greek lambda and steganography in Greek, EOS is a Greek goddess, and she ties to that whole open secret story there if you want to look into this. But look at the birth chart of Veritasium. It has the unfortunate consequence of being the same shape as the EOS, as the EOS logo here. Absolutely uncanny. And so there's, as Bix actually, I think, very astutely pointed out in his video today, talking of such things, he thinks that maybe these things are tied together. I don't know if he saw that symbolism as well, but here it is, flat in your face. So there's no mistaking that this is all tied together via the use of all of this steganography. I think there's another thing I wanted to bring out here is because I remembered Canon and the security and the surveillance state, like the the centralized nature of everything. Bix had mentioned the other day that DJI, the Chinese camera manufacturer, has microchips in it, so their like version of the Promise system at the NSA, whatever organization that is in their deep state system, is capturing all the footage. Well, I think, of course, the EOS line of Canon cameras, they all have D's in the names. D, 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 D. Ties back to Divi, right? And lo and behold, some dates to look at. Late 2020, early 2021, we've got a new Mark V 5D. V steganography everywhere. And this has got to be tied, in my opinion, to some sort of that type of, behind the scenes faction control. Follow where the steganography leads you to which faction is in control, and of course you'll figure it out. But the divine Greek phi ratios is where we're getting all this information from. The V, turn the divine pentagram into the upside down pentagram, and you get a V instead of a lambda. This is what they're doing. They're bastardizing essentially the ether, which is what these principles represent, and preventing us from knowing the truth and actually truly reaching the Nikola Tesla paradigm. Right? I'll just kind of hopefully leave it at there, guys. I mean, one other point I wanted to make, actually. One other point I wanted to make, because again, all of it goes back to these principles and the gematria and the steganography. When we're going along in this video, she actually also says, part of the birth chart of Veritasium and the turmoils to come, they tie together with February. And February is Eros, Cupid. So Eos and Eros. And remember, this is you can watch more about how this video ties into that concept here, this Death Stranding video. But what I'm going to get at here is the Mercury component of her video as it relates to when the Mercury retrograde is going backwards, for one, when the birth chart of Veritasium displayed here, I guess she's covering up the dates of when it exactly is. But Mercury's in retrograde, and remember that we've talked about Mercury being in retrograde too. Reggie might be fighting the very fascist system with this symbolism that we're finding all over his website. If we're, oh my gosh, I don't know if I closed that down or if it just closed down on itself, but here that steganography is he, of course, here's the old reverse of the Mercury dime. And what do we, Mercury in retrograde is Hermes. Hermes is Mercury, the Hermetic staff, and of course, the Hermetic staff here, all tying in with the harmonic control grid network that Rudolf Steiner was telling us about. You guys, it's all here, the cube, the Borg, it's all the same V steganography tie-ins, and where I'm hopefully just pointing out some organizations to you that are maybe benevolent and hopefully trying to take things back and rewrite the V steganography. Whether Reggie even knew he was doing this or not, I don't know. I don't know. It's all interesting to me that he's fighting this very energy, and could it be that the fascia on the back of this, the fascist government that's installed, needs a solution like this somehow? I've even wondered if Reggie brokered a deal and he has to publicly simply state that the coins have been taken, but who says the government's not still working with him? Who says that this isn't all an auspice to get public eyes away from it so they can further develop the project how they need to do it? And that Reggie's actually secured in the position. I don't know. These are the questions I have. Anyway, Raw Food Reboot. This is Bix's wife's, Amy's deal. My girlfriend and I are getting a ton out of it. And I encourage you guys to look into this too. But that's about it. That's about it for now. That's short and sweet, and hopefully gives everybody a crash course into another aspect of crypto, plugging into this whole financial catastrophe that we seem to be under. And with this new Space Force paradigm that Stephen Quast is, with his talk at Hillsdale College, is getting us all prepped up for. So I'll leave it there. Like this video and share it around to try and get it some exposure so people can kind of see where Bix is going with some of this stuff, because honestly, read this book, The Bitcoin Standard, and you'll know exactly why Divi is not necessarily a good idea in his vein. So anyway, thanks guys. Talk to you soon.